Hello everyone, good morning. Sorry, good evening. I'm sharing my screen. So we've created this FBDI main and GL daily rates, guys. GL daily rates main and callback service. So we need to go ahead and test the integrations today. And before I test the integration, I just want to show you one thing here. So we've created a main and a callback service. And in the SFTP location, we already have. So let me just close the other tabs, guys, that we don't need. I'm going to share my screen again. So if you go in here, go to SFTP location. In the SFTP location, we've got, we have two files at the moment, UG63. And I think I've put in exchange rates files for yesterday and today. And let me also first verify the exchange rates that we have in Fusion Cloud, guys. Let me first check the ERP Cloud instance link that we have. What is the connection that I have in ERP Cloud? I have EUDU instance. So I'll go to EUDU instance. First of all, I'll show you the exchange rates for today and tomorrow state before I run the integration. Manage daily rates. And I want to see the exchange rates from USD to INR for today and tomorrow state. And I will use the exchange rate type as corporate. So we see that there is already an exchange rate with exchange rate as 79. What we want to do was when we upload these two files, we're going to upload two files now. And in the files that we're going to upload, we have exchange rate of 74.71. So I've got two files in the SFTP, guys. I have two files in SFTP location with exchange rates for 11th and 12th. 11th is already gone by. So I'm going to delete this. And I would just put in one more file with exchange rates for tomorrow. So that this integration picks up and loads the exchange rates for both the dates. I'm just going to name the file as 13 January. And I'm going to place this 13 January file. Okay, so I've got two files in the SFTP location, guys. And those two files have exchange rates for today and tomorrow. And when we run this main service now, so we're going to run this main service, guys. We will run it on demand, but remember, Bloomberg would be placing the files at 1 o'clock in the morning here, and we would schedule this orchestration to run at 1:30. This would go in here, list down the files, loop through them, and it would, for each file, it would execute the steps that we have in the main service. So it's going to unzip it, add property file, zip the CSV and property file into a single file, and it's going to send the data to Fusion Cloud application. And when you go into Fusion Cloud application schedule process screen, you should be able to see the jobs getting kicked off as well. So I'll also keep that screen open here, schedule process screen. And I'll also put a filter here to show only the jobs that are submitted by FinIPL user. Okay, now let's go ahead and run this integration. And when I run the main service, as soon as I run the main service, yes, I'm asking OSE to go to the input location, pick up the zip file whose name starts with GL daily rates interface.zip. And there are two files in the location which match the name pattern. And you should be able to see the instance ID generated. And what do you see, guys? The behavior that you would notice here is, yes, it picked up, it has listed down the files. There were two files. So on each file, it's going to perform these actions. Whatever actions we have in a loop, it's going to perform those actions. And it is also going to load the file into ERP Cloud. So you see two iterations are done. You see two iterations are done for the integration, and it also completed successfully. Remember, guys, the integration already picked up two files, and on each file, it has performed whatever actions we had in here: unzip, write property file, prepare zip file, and send it to ERP. Now, if you come in here, remember, even sometimes the loader also is still running. But are the jobs submitted, guys? Are the jobs completed? Even the loader didn't complete, guys. But the main service completed automatically. To answer one of your questions yesterday, Prasad, can't we make the main service itself wait until the jobs complete and do everything within one single service? It would be it is not recommended, guys, because you get back a request ID here that would be that of a loader, but you need to plug in a lot of actions here unnecessarily on your side. Instead, what you do was, if you create a callback service, it would be triggered automatically, and ERP will do a lot of stuff to help you there. What is that lot of stuff? I'll talk about it in a moment. First of all, let's see the jobs, guys. First of all, if you look at the jobs triggered here, let me minimize this. If you look at the jobs triggered here, why do you see each job triggered twice, guys? Any idea why is each job triggered twice?
Because of two files.
Absolutely, right? Because we have
for
two
each.
files, right? Yeah. So this is for 12th and this is for 13th, or either way. And what does a loader job do whenever we run it? It runs a transfer file. And what will transfer file do, guys? It will pick up the file from our local drive and uploads it to UCM. So this loader job has kicked off a transfer file and then this load worker. Okay, and this loader job, this is a transfer file and this is a load worker. Okay, well and good. First 6 jobs, we know what's going on. Now let's go ahead and refresh it and see what happens. And you also see the import job here. Ideally, how many times the import job should have been submitted, guys? How many times it should have been submitted? 2 times, right? Because we had two files, similar to how you have each job submitted twice. Import and calculate daily rates also should have run 2 times. But it has submitted, but it ran 4 times here. What's the reason, guys? Any guess? Okay, tell me one thing. When we did the FBDI manual process, when we did the FBDI manual process, we ran this particular job manually, right? By coming into the Fusion Cloud application. And when I submitted this job, what was the behavior we noticed when we did the FBDI manual process? This kicked off the transfer file, and it also kicked off the load worker. And did we also notice that this job was also kicked off by automatically by the loader, guys? On that day also, it was kicked off automatically, right? Why was that done? I also explained why the loader itself was kicked off.
It was not having any parameter, so
it doesn't matter whether we submit it manually or whether it submits it. So these two requests that you see here are basically the jobs that are submitted by the loader job automatically. Now, why is loader submitting these two jobs, guys? Why is this loader submitting this job and this loader submitting it? Why did it submitted? Because the import job didn't have parameters. If the import job had parameters, guys, you wouldn't see these requests. If the import job has parameters, you wouldn't see these requests. But since these two import jobs didn't have parameters, these two loaders have submitted these two import jobs. Okay, well and good. Where are these two jobs coming in from? When I send the file to ERP, exactly. So when I send the file to ERP Cloud, what did we do, guys? We included property file, right? In the property file, we told ERP, boss, please go ahead and run this job. Please go ahead and run this job. So that is where these two jobs are coming in from a property file. Okay, these two jobs are coming in from a property file. And so what does it mean, guys? It means if the import job, whatever is the business object that you are importing here I'm importing GL daily rates. And if that import job doesn't have parameters, do we need a property file, guys? We don't need it, because the loader itself is going to kick off loader itself is going to kick off the import job anyways. So what I could have done in my integration is I could have just downloaded the data file. I could have skipped all these steps. What steps I could have skipped here? I could have skipped the write property file, zipping it and dropping it to SFTP. So what I could have done is I could have just downloaded the file, guys. I could have skipped the next 5 steps and I could have sent that zip file as is to ERP Cloud. The zip file with only .csv file can also be sent to ERP Cloud only in one scenario, guys. What is that scenario? If the import job doesn't have parameters, as in the case of exchange rates. So in the case of exchange rates, you also don't need to ask the client to include a property file. You also don't need to generate it even if they don't give you one, because the loader itself is going to kick it off. But please note that at least 7 out of 10 import jobs have parameters, guys. At least 7 out of 10 import jobs have parameters. And when you do those 7 out of 10 import jobs, when you get those data files from sources, like core banking system giving you journals file, billing system giving you AR invoices file, there is a fair chance that they might say, sorry, Prasad, I cannot create a property file. I cannot give you a property file. You need to help yourself. So if you ask me, in this integration, it would work absolutely fine. Even if I skip these 5 steps, I could have just downloaded. There's no need to even unzip it. I could have skipped these 5 steps. Just whatever file I downloaded, I could have sent it to ERP directly. But tomorrow, if you have to do a journal import, or day after tomorrow, if you have to do AR invoice import, and if data source doesn't give you a property file, you wouldn't know what you have to do. Yes or no, guys? If I don't teach you all of this. So that's precisely why I have taught you how to write a property file, zip it, and drop it to SFTP for reference, and then send it to ERP. Now, if your question is, Prasad, why didn't we pick up a import job with parameters as an example instead of GL daily rates? That would have avoided all the confusion. The reason I picked this up is any client who implements financials, guys, this is the first integration discussion that you're going to get into. Journals or AR invoices might or might not be there, guys, but exchange rates will definitely be there. That is why I've taken this as an example. And I also want to prove to you that if it is an exchange rate, if it is an import job without parameters, you can skip it. Okay, now that you see the job is triggered 4 times, you can clearly see that you can skip it. Okay, so my intention is not to confuse you guys. Be very clear. When do we need property file, guys? First of all, when import job has parameters. And if data source says, sorry, Prasad, I cannot give you a property file. In that case only we need it. We will be generating a file like this. Now you see all the jobs completed, right? And you also see one more job running here. So you see these 2 jobs. What ERP Cloud will do is, after this loader, transfer file, load worker, and import job. So these are the 4 jobs triggered for every data file. And after all the jobs are done, ERP is going to run this particular job. And what this job would do is, what it would do is, it would pick up the error and the job output files. So whatever are the log and output files generated by these 4 jobs will be picked up. It will be zipped into one single file, and that file will be uploaded to UCM, guys. You see content server or UCM, guys? To that particular file server attached to Fusion Cloud application, that zip file will be uploaded. And also ERP raises that ERP import bulk data business event. What ERP Cloud will do after the file processing is done, after this job is also complete, a zip file is also already uploaded to UCM, ERP raises a business event. Which business event will it raise, guys? ERP import bulk data business event. Now, if you go in here, if you go back into OIC instance, now let's validate the end result first before we talk about the callback. So we before the exchange rates files are uploaded, what was the exchange rate, guys? 79, right? Now let's search for it. 74, right? First of all, data is uploaded. Okay, end result is done. Now we will go ahead and see if you go into observability integrations. you would notice that the callback service is triggered twice. After the main service completes, remember, the jobs are complete in ERP. This job picked up all the log and output files, uploaded it to UCM, right? And then ERP Cloud, what it did, guys, it raised a business event. And since this callback service has subscribed to that business event, ERP import bulk data business event, it has been triggered twice automatically. Did we trigger it, guys? No. And how many times it is triggered? First of all, I click on 2. I see that it is triggered twice, once per data file. So this is our callback of 12 January file, and this is a callback of 13 January file. Now, how is it triggered automatically? You need to tell me, how was it triggered? When we built this integration, what did we do, guys, when we created this integration? We created it as an app-driven orchestration, right? We created it as app-driven orchestration. And I have used ERP Cloud connection as a trigger. ERP Cloud connection as a trigger. And what did I select there, guys? I said I want to receive FBDI callback. And I selected import and calculate daily rates job as an option there. In this service, I've created it as app-driven. I've used ERP connection as a trigger. I subscribe to receive FBDI callback event, and I selected import and callback daily rates job as an import job. Now, what would have happened in the background, guys? Let me show you the business event subscription. What could have happened in the background? Now, if you go to this particular link, guys, remember you have a Fusion Cloud instance logins, right? So we are using which login are we using, guys? EUDU, right? So let's copy this instance logins, and I'm going to put it in here. Now, in this Fusion Cloud instance, remember to this Fusion Cloud instance URL, if you add this prefix, guys, you say SOVA infra public event subscriptions. Now, if you access this, if you add this suffix to a Fusion Cloud instance, and if you try to access this link in Firefox, please don't access it in Chrome, guys. Please put it into Firefox. It will prompt you to log in. Now, this link is going to show you what all integrations are subscribed to the business events in this Fusion Cloud instance. Okay, shall we try to log in as FinIMPL and see? I'm logging in as FinIMPL. And the moment I log in, what do we see here, guys? Let me scroll down. What do we see here? We see our integration UG63 FBDI GL daily rate callback service. Is this our callback integration, guys? Right? And this integration, to which business event is it subscribed to, guys? ERP import bulk data event. Now, when is this event raised? See, in ERP Cloud, after the file processing is done, after this job is complete, ERP raised this event. And when it raised this business event, it would also include a lot of details in it. Like what would be the import job? That would be import job context would be there in that event. It would be import and calculate daily rates. So since this integration, our callback service is subscribed to, sorry guys, since our callback service is subscribed to this business event, with import and calculate daily rates job applied as a filter, import job applied as a filter. When would our callback service be triggered, guys? First of all, if I load a FBDI file manually, will this integration be triggered, guys?
No.
No. Why is that the case? Because this ERP import bulk data event will only be raised when a file is loaded through a bulk import process, because only when you load a file through integration, this job would be triggered, guys. If you run it manually, you won't have this job running. Okay, that's point one. So if I load a file, this will not be triggered. Now tell me one thing, guys. I'm going to load a file in ERP Cloud through the bulk import integration. Let's say I loaded journals file. Will this integration be triggered, guys? If I load a journals file. For journals, what is the import job? Import journals, right?
What
is that? Okay. So when this business event is raised by ERP Cloud for a journals file, what would be the import job? It would be import journals, right? So since there is a mismatch, this will not be triggered. So you need to create another callback service for journals. So the callback service will be per business object. So you need to have different callback services for every business object, guys. So this integration will be triggered only when you load an exchange rate file through an integration in OIC, because that's the only scenario where this event will be raised with this import job as a context. And since this integration is subscribed, remember this event is raised twice, guys. How many times do you see these upload jobs? Twice, right? So two times this event is raised. Since this event is raised two times, how many times the callback integration is triggered? Two times. Once for 12 January and once for 13 January. Now let me go into one of them. Now, if I go into 12 January here, is this 12 January? Yes. Now, first, let me show you what is the input payload that we get, guys. So if you look at the payload that we receive, guys, first of all, let me copy this, guys, and I'll put it in the notepad here. Now, this is the input payload that we get. As input into a callback service. Okay, so if you see here, what exactly do we see, guys? First of all, you see the jobs information. You see a zip file, right? First of all, you see that there is a zip file that you get as input. And this zip file contains, what does it contain, guys? This contains all the log and output files, first of all. Okay. And you also see the status, summary status has succeeded. And if you look at the jobs, you see that you will be able to see all the jobs that are triggered as part of it, triggered as part of the processing of the file. So for 12 January file, these are all the jobs that are triggered, yes or no, guys? So this is a job that we triggered. So if you look at this particular job, okay, and in this particular job, what do we see, guys? We see that there is a document name. Okay. And what is the document name that you see here when we run the loader job? And also let me just minimize this just to avoid confusion. Okay, so you have many levels of nesting here. So why are you seeing different jobs here? If one job is a parent of others, you have them showing up as child jobs here. Remember, this is a wrapper job that we submitted, right? This is a job that is triggered, and this job has kicked off 3 child jobs. What jobs did it trigger, guys? It triggered the transfer file job first, and then it transferred, and then it kicked off this load worker. Then it triggered the import job. Since these 3 jobs are a child jobs of a load worker, load interface file for import. So first of all, this job ran for this document, for this file name, and it has completed successfully. And these are all the child jobs of it. And after this import and calculate daily rates job is done, this job is submitted one more time. Remember, this loader itself has submitted this. Why did it submit the import job? Because there were no parameters. And since we had the properties file, so this job is triggered one more time. And then you had this final jobs. Remember, these 2 jobs are not linked to this. They are submitted by ERP Cloud automatically to process a data file. So here we have, so all this information, remember guys, for each and every job, you would have the request ID, completion status, job name. So all these details will come to us as input, guys. Okay, now this is the biggest benefit of building a callback service. What I can do, I have everything that I need to do the post-processing actions. First of all, I need to archive a data file. Guys, tell me one thing. Here, I'm not even looking at the status. What I could have done is, I could have looked at the completion status of the import job, and I could have had a switch statement. And in the switch statement, I can check if it is completed in succeeded state, then send it to archive. Otherwise, I could have sent it to error. Okay, so you can also enhance it if you want. But what is it that I was trying to do? Whatever file has been picked up. So this file, I'm just picking up this file, and I'm just dropping this. I'm picking up this file from input and I'm moving it to archive. So let's go to SFTP and see, guys. Since both the files are processed, what should be the behavior, guys? These 2 files should have been knocked off, right? These 2 files are knocked off. And these 2 files should have been moved from input to archive. Okay, done. One step done. And also when one important point is before we picked up this file from input and before we send the file to ERP cloud, remember we were dumping the files into ERP here. So the file that you see here, what is the file, guys? This is the actual file that we have sent to ERP cloud. This is a file that we have sent to ERP cloud, guys. Okay, so I'll just add ERP at the end. Let me just copy this file, guys, and show you what is the content of it. So if you look at the zip file, so this is the actual file that we have sent. We only got CSV, but we were generating property file in our integration, and we were including these two files in a zip file, and we were sending it, right? And if you look at the property file, this is the property file that we have generated, the import job package name, definition name, and the property file name. Okay, so you see the files, whatever files have been sent to ERP cloud, that exact files were logged here. And also, I remember we were receiving a zip file as input right here. We were receiving a zip file as input. And this zip file, guys, remember it contains the log and output files of all the jobs. Okay, so if I go to the log folder, I could see two log files here. Now tell me one thing, guys, which of these log files is 12 January data file log file? This one or this one? How do I know? How do we know? Name on it. To make it easy for our support people, what did we do? What I could have done is I could have done something like this, guys. Sorry. I could have done something like this. If I have done something like this, like a date and a timestamp, just a date and a timestamp, what would have happened? It would be a nightmare. So I need to look at the timestamp to figure out whether this is a 12 January or a 13 January file. So if I just put in date and a timestamp here. So for that reason only, what is it that we have done? We have included, we named the data file after we named the log file after the data file itself. I'm going to rename it and I would just say 12 January. Okay, now if you take this log file, what exactly would you see in that log file, logs folder, guys? If you look at this folder, the logs folder, you see that there are 5 log files. Since there are 5 jobs, all of them generated only log file, you see them. And you also see a data file, you also see the property file. So all this stuff, we are dumping it into the logs location. So just if they download it, they would be able to see the log files generated. They would also be able to see a data file. And they would also be able to see the property file that has been used to load the data file. Everything would be available readily for the support team to figure out what has gone wrong if job fails on any particular day. And what else we were doing? We were also sending out a notification, right? Attaching that zip and log, attaching that zip file. So let me go ahead and just show you that notification, guys. Now, if you look at this email, remember, guys, I've got two emails. So I've got a 12 January email and I've got the 13 January email. And if you look at this email for 12 January, I was just saying the GL daily rates loaded successful, and I was just printing the file name in the subject. And you also see an attachment. And remember, the attachment would go with the same name that we have received from ERP Cloud. And in our next session, I'm going to show you how to do a stage file read and write actions. So if you use stage file read and write actions, you can probably rename the file as well if required. Okay, so if you want to rename it, what we can do is we can do a stage file write action. Using this file content, we can write another file in a file staging area with a meaningful name. And that file reference we can attach here so that when the file goes, it goes out with a meaningful name rather than this auto-generated name. But how do we use a stage file read and write actions? We'll see it in detail in the next session, guys. But what if I download this and I go in there? I would rename it. And I would say .zip. And when you have a zip file, we have the log and output files. So whatever is a zip file that has been, the log file that has been placed in SFTP, we're also sending that out as an email attachment so that even if somebody looks at the email, they can easily figure out what has gone wrong. So these are all the steps. So you see, all this process would happen automatically, guys. First of all, Bloomberg places a file at what time it places a file? It places a file at 1 o'clock. And the scheduled integration runs at 1:30. The jobs will get kicked off in ERP Cloud at 1:35. And let's say it took 10 minutes to process it. After all the jobs are complete, these jobs would run. Business event will be raised, and a callback service will be triggered separately for every data file, and you're going to get the data, the required information. Okay, and within the callback service, we plug in all the post-processing actions. Now, one important point, guys, even if you build, say for example, if any of you try to build the same integration next few days, you would also be doing the same thing, guys. You would, even in your callback service, what is it that you would be doing? Even in your callback service also, you would subscribe to the same business event. You would subscribe to the same business event, and you would say receive callback of import and calculate daily rates. So say, for example, if Vishal creates a callback service and activates his integration, there would be one more entry that you see after 38, 39 will be there. It will be Vishal FBDI GL daily rate callback. It is also subscribed to this event and import and calculate daily rates. Now, if you have two integrations subscribed to the same business event, same import job, when you load a file through bulk import, both the callback services will be triggered. But don't worry, guys. Is that going to be a problem in real time? Not really, right? Because there would be only one developer working on one integration. Unless there is something seriously wrong, multiple developers will not build the same callback service for a same business object. Okay. Now, tell me one more thing, guys. So when we created this main service, we went ahead with a certain assumption. What did we do? We went ahead with an assumption that we get only the data file, no property file. So we were generating it. And also in the property file here, we made an assumption that Bloomberg is going to give us a data file in a FBDI format, in a .csv format in FBDI. But tell me one thing, I see is always data source going to agree to you and say, Prasad, okay, since Prasad needs it in FBDI format, meaning a .csv in a specific format, plus zip it and send it to ERP, would every data source give you in that format, guys? Not possible. Yeah, sometimes you get XML, sometimes you get JSON file, sometimes you get CSV only, but not in FBDI. Okay, you need to know how to deal with it. What's the second scenario? You might get big files from data sources, which are certainly more than 50 MB in size. You need to know how to deal with big files. That's the second scenario. And the third scenario was you might get a data files from a data source, which needs to undergo heavy transformation. Okay, so you might get multiple files from a data source, but you might have to, in the integration, you have to merge them into single file and you have to send it to cloud. Or you might get one single file from a data source. Maybe you're getting an AP invoice file, one single file you're getting. But when you send it to ERP cloud, remember guys, when you load AP invoices, there are two files that you need to send, guys. Invoices is a sub invoice, header is a separate CSV, lines is a separate CSV. So how do you deal with those complex transformations, guys? Within the integration layer, we would be using a database layer here. After you download the file, we also need to understand how to use a database layer. So you might have probably seen the email from me, guys. We will be meeting again on Thursday. No session on the next 3 days because it is Makar Sankranti. So we will be, and for the next 3 days, practice everything that we have covered so far until the FBDA as well. But the other FBDA possible scenarios, remember, I'm going to spend 2 more hours on FBDA integration, guys. On one day, I'm going to talk about all the possibilities, like what you need to do, how do you deal with big files in different formats and all that stuff. And I'm also going to, and on the second day, I'm going to talk about how to use a database layer in the integration so that you understand how to do the heavy transformations or the bulk transformations. Okay, so we're not done with FBDA yet. I've just shown you how to build an integration with an assumption. And I'll tell you what you need to do if the other scenarios arise. And I'll also tell you how to deal with or how to use a database layer in a different session altogether. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, guys, from anyone?
Prashad, Sachin here. This callback service, what we have is specific to Oracle Fusion, right? Will this kind of features will also be there with other ERPs or something like that, like Salesforce or anything?
No, in case
Me,
of Salesforce, no, it varies from application to application. What you said is right. The callback, it's this kind of mechanism works for ERP cloud. But if it is a different application, different applications have different way of sending a communication back. Okay, so it varies from one integration to from one source system to another source system. So depending on how they send you information back, say for example in FBDI, right? So even in the case of Fusion Cloud, also you see the discrepancies here. So here when we kick off the bulk import in FBDI, we don't get the request ID. But if you're doing HCM data loader, you get back a request ID. So we can handle everything in the single integration itself. Okay. Even within the Fusion Cloud, it works in a different manner. In case of FBDI, this is the norm. Different application, different system, it would be a different working altogether. But who would help you with all this? So you might say, Prasad, since you since I enrolled in a program, you told me how this works. Who is going to tell me how it works in other application? Every application has its own functional and technical teams, and those teams are going to help you guys. Remember, you're not expected to know how it's all going to work together. Your job is to build the integration. Okay, any nitty-gritties or the internal workings of the application, you would get to know only when you talk to those relevant teams.
sure.
Any other questions, guys, from anyone?
Yes. Prasad, so there are two jobs, import daily jobs, correct? One through the integration and one through the main wrapper
Correct.
job. So which has loaded the exchange rate or it gets overwritten?
It gets overwritten. So, so this or instead of overwritten, the way we need to look at it is, so this would have picked up those 3 records populated by that data file. It would have loaded them, and when this job ran, there's nothing to process. So that's why it completed in succeeded state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we look that request ID, Prasad, in that metadata?
If you go into a GL daily rates table, you will be able to see
See
which
that.
particular request has been loaded here.
Okay.
Has loaded this, and also if you look at this, I think it should also be there in the log
You
files.
were showing that in XML file, correct? Where there were like different tag for each job. It is showing
ID.
this process ID.
No, it will show both the process IDs, right? So if you see here, so this is going to show you. So this is a loader job. This import job 8.9 is submitted by the loader. Okay, 8.9 is submitted by this loader. But your question is which of them process the records, right? So since this is triggered by the loader, this itself would have processed it. So I think it should be available in the log file as well. So if you go into log file, not really sure how Oracle has built that log file. So you see
Maybe I
3
can call
records
back
are updated. Yeah. A callback would tell you, a callback is not going to tell you how many records are processed. What you need to do is you need to pick up that request ID and query the GL daily rates table to see how many records were processed. Okay. Now you see here 3 records are updated. Okay. So this is 8.9 job. And after this one, this is also triggered, right? 8.8 also. And if you go into 8.8, you could also see 3 records are submitted here. But let's look at this one. Let's see if these 2 jobs also have that. You see 0 records here because by the time this job ran, there was nothing in there. Interface table was already flushed there. So there was nothing to process. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't want to split this up. I understand that there are 10 or 15 more minutes left, guys, but I don't want to split this transformation of files into 2 different sessions. So we'll stop it here for today. In Thursday's session, I'm going to show you how to deal with various file scenarios. And in Friday's session, I'm going to talk about how to use a database layer in FBDI integration space. Okay, wish you happy Makar Sankranti to everyone, guys, in advance. The next 3 days I might not be available. So just in case you have any questions, jot them down. We'll have a quick question and answers on Thursday morning. Go through the questions and then we'll proceed with the session. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time.